you mega dose test and have libido and erections and feel amazing on TRT? I mean, isn't that what we would all like to do? I mean, I'd love to just inject 250 milligrams a week. I'd love to do it once a week, by the way. I would not be pinning daily or every other day. Fuck it, even 300 a week. That's what we'd all like to do. But the bottom line with injecting lots of test is that, first of all, you're going to make loads of the metabolites. So you run a higher risk of elevated estradiol, therefore ED, libido problems, climax problems, sensation problems. And at the same time, you run the risk of super elevated DHT, which usually when it's very, very elevated is going to cause hair loss if you're susceptible, but almost definitely loads of acne, which means that if you're going to do that for any degree of time, whether it's a temporary period, kind of a sports TRT deal, a cycle, or if you're wanting to run it for TRT, you've got to be pretty surgical in both managing the metabolites and managing the pitfalls, like the potential negative consequences which are likely to happen in the case of a megadosing test. But if you want to do it, because megadosing tests can be pretty fucking awesome, I want to show you how in this video. Sit back, strap in, grab a beer, relax. Let's talk about megadosing test. Let's go. All right, before we start the video, Cortex Labs, which is my company, is a TRT guidance and sexual dysfunction resolution company. Right now for Black Friday, there are a number of huge discounts, mainly 50% off everything. Quickly have a look. Right now for Black Friday, the coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all TRT products. Coaching, one-on-one, sexual dysfunction resolution, fixing libido and erection problems on TRT. 50% off. Enter BLACK50 at checkout and you will save thousands of dollars on any coaching program. Source list, a compilation of the most vetted sources for any anabolic you can think of. Test of any ester, DHT, high potency, 50% off. Mastering Testosterone Cream, a revolutionary new course, 50% off. Coupon code again, BLACK50. Will knock 50% off of the price. Mastering Testosterone Cypionate, a course that shows you how to dial in libido and erections with one of the hardest esters in the world. 50% off again. Coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all of our major TRT products right now. All right, so use that code BLACK50, save 50% on everything. Thousands of bucks on coaching, 50% on all the products regarding dialing in sexual function on TRT. All right, so look, I've megadose test. You know, I run a cycle of 500 milligrams a week. I've run sports TRT at 300 a week. I've run sports TRT at 250 a week. I've run prop cycles of 490 a week. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. But in order for me to have done that, to ultimately put on some keepable gains and then just go back to TRT and not have to worry about AIs and shit and just have a set it and forget it protocol, I had to meticulously manage metabolites and the effective carnage that could come along with high dosing or mega dosing test. But look, I mean, I went from this, which is an okay looking physique, you know, pre-running mega doses of tests. And look, I could have stayed there. Like I was in shape. Like I was fine. To ultimately ending up looking like that. Not quite a bodybuilder, but like better, bigger shoulders, bigger chest, a lot more anabolism, more vascularity. And I've kept all of those gains. It's basically where my physique is right now after a pump. But it did not come without a cost. And it didn't come without structural management of DHT, lipids, estradiol, my hair, acne, and blood pressure. So let's talk about how I did this. And I just want to make it clear to folks that yes, you can mega dose test, but you have to be on top of your game in terms of managing the outcomes of hormones and your body. All right, number one, the first thing that I did after some time of letting estrogen go, curious about where it would go, and not really caring too much about sexual function at the time. I mean, I was on and off dating, but I wasn't currently dating. So look, if I had, you know, erectile dysfunction or libido problems, sensation problems, I really didn't care. I mean, the ultimate goal for me was just to put on some keepable gains, create a foundation upon which I can slowly build once I go back on TRT in terms of anabolism and go from there. But after I had identified that estradiol went to 95 picograms per milliliter and was ultimately 560 of test a week, I had to do something about the estrogen because sexual function was very poor. Wasn't waking up with nocturnals, wasn't waking up with erections in the morning. Erections for penetrative sex were piss poor without the use of a pretty tailored biohacking strategy, PD5 inhibitors, among other things. My libido was okay, but I mean, nothing else was really good. H&H, my hematocrit was 52. That's over. I don't care if docs are telling you out there or YouTubers or whatever, like, yeah, 52 is fine. People at elevation have higher hematocrit. You do not want hematocrit above 50. I brought in 12.5 milligrams of aromasin, dosed that every 6 days, and took the E2 to 35 or so picograms per milliliter. Instantly, I mean, within 2 weeks of that all dropping, my libido got better. My erections were firm again, and they were sort of like accordion style with megadosing tests, as you might imagine, because the estradiol was just substantially over range. The kind of ranges that us men are not meant to deal with and are going to cause problems. I had played around with the dose frequency of every 6 days of 12.5 milligrams of aromasin, switching it to every 4.5 days or something. Ultimately took the E2 to 20. That was a little bit too low. Libido started to suffer. So I figured the every 6 days was my mark. Again, 12.5 milligrams of aromasin on top of the test. This was 160 every other day of enanthate. That's what the ultimate test dose was. And again, 30 to 35 estradiol. Things were pretty good. Was I insatiably horny? No. Were my erections steel rods all the time? No. But it was passable for penetrative sex. Waking up with erections a few times a week. Like, it ended up being okay. Could I have pushed that a little further with manipulating the aromasin dose itself or the frequency slightly in small little increments in order to perfect that, get E2 at 27, maybe add a little bit more HCG for the libido side of things? Yes, but I just didn't care. It was passable. It was definitely passable. And I got to reap the rewards of building some muscle mass and being on mega doses of test. Now, regarding hematocrit, my hematocrit was over range and I was having symptoms. Not everybody has symptoms when their mega dosing test and hematocrit goes over range. They feel completely fucking normal. I did not feel normal. It was a little harder to breathe. My face was a little more red than usual. I would get out of breath easier working out. Generally, I know, and everybody should know, my blood was thicker. So I had to dose what ended up being 700 milligrams every other day, but between 300 and 700 milligrams initially every day of naringin, which provably lowers hematocrit, so that for the rest of the cycle, I wasn't having those symptoms. Interestingly, what that also did was intensify the effect of the PD5 inhibitors I was dosing at the time, which was 10 milligrams of tadalafil a day. So erections ended up harder because naringin essentially increases the effect duration window and the potency of tadalafil in the blood. Let's talk about hair loss. Yes, on cycle and on mega dosing tests, even if you have good hair genes like me, you are likely to have some degree of diffuse thinning or full-blown catastrophic hair loss. That started happening to me probably about week 3, week 4, I started noticing it. Ultimately, I was on the cycle for just about 4 months. What I had to do was dose 1,000 milligrams a day of tocotrienols. Okay, this is a variant of vitamin E that is known in the literature to support hair growth and stop hair loss. I had to dermal roll with a 1.5 millimeter or so. Big, sharp, painful dermal roller on my head, on my scalp, in the shower twice a week till I was drawing blood to open up and oxygenate the blood vessels to keep the hair follicles from continuously deteriorating to the point where I would start noticing big open patches in my hair and really be up shit's creek regarding hair loss. I used a good degree of salic acid, but ultimately all that really did was dry my skin out. So I did have a great degree of acne when this is happening all over my fucking back and my shoulders. If you remember some of the content from back then, it was last July or something. I had acne all over my shoulders. The salic acid really didn't help all that much, but what did was dial gold soap. I had read about it, that it sort of is an antimicrobial, antibacterial sort of thing, can help with the overage of sebaceous gland sebum production, which is causing your acne in relation to both the E2, the fluctuations, the high test, and the estradiol. And I would thoroughly scrub the acne daily, twice daily in showers with dial gold soap. Did it fix the problem? No. Did it help pretty substantially? Yes, it helped enough. Cardio, again, in order to maintain blood viscosity that is favorable, in addition to taking the naringin that I was taking and eating relatively healthy, I had to do cardio. So in addition to trying to build muscle mass at the gym, like 4 times a week, 5 times a week in most cases, I would be at the gym on the treadmill fucking running a couple miles at 750 pace per mile, or I'd be outside in Pittsburgh going on 2-mile runs at a 750 pace per mile. I don't typically have elevated blood pressure in the case of dosing any amount of testosterone, and I didn't then. But, eating well, lots of salads with the occasional cheat meal of pizza or something stupid, not really drinking a lot at all, and doing cardio, and my genes kept the blood pressure in range. Now, the real question is, in doing all that and being able to successfully run a cycle where I was able to transform my physique to have keepable gains and real lean tissue, which I kept most of it. I probably lost 20% of it or something after the cycle, going back down to TRT over the ensuing year. The question really is, could I have continued mega dosing test? And the answer is yes, as long as my hematocrit was in range. I would have had to dial in that aromasin frequency, or maybe increase it to 13, 16 milligrams or something every 6 days, and bump up the HCG a little bit to compensate. Then the libido would have been completely good, pretty insatiable. Erections would have been rock hard. And I would have been able to continuously dose it. But here's the thing. That's just hard, right? Which is why if you're going to mega dose test, assuming you're not a bodybuilder and that's your lifestyle, you generally want to just run cycles of these things, okay? Whether it's sports TRT or an actual testosterone cycle, you generally just want to run it for 4 months, manage the metabolites the best you can. If you want to maintain libido, you're going to have to use aromasin, Arimidex, Primobolan, or Masteron. Those 2 latter drugs are going to obviously help your anabolism a little more, get you more sculpted, give you more strength and stuff, but they manage estradiol. Different mechanisms. Masteron regarding estrogen receptors and the blocking of those. Primobolan via converting to an intermediary that acts as an aromatase inhibitor. The Naringin, right, used to control hematocrit, which had a side, a bonus for me of increasing the effectiveness of tadalafil. Yes, I could have continued to take it. But at the same time, that interferes with drug metabolism enzymes, that drug, which is why potentially it's effective for tadalafil. And it's other compounds that I may have wanted to experiment with the same enzyme is used to metabolize those drugs out of the system, would have prolonged the half-life and thus the effect duration window and the blood concentration of those drugs, in some cases doubling them. So is that really sustainable? Yeah, I suppose so, but there wouldn't be any, let's call it PT141 use. I'm not sure if the liver enzyme, it's the same enzymatic process here, but there may have been stuff that I really couldn't experiment with, and sometimes I like to. Proviron, I like to experiment with Proviron every now and then. I fucking love that drug. Bottom line here is, sustainable to mega dose test? The answer is, of course, yes, but not without sacrifices and a lot of work to manage, DHT, the effects of DHT, I should say, regarding acne and hair loss. Estradiol, obviously, the effects of estradiol, which are ED, libido loss, sensation problems, difficulty reaching climax. I had to increase the dose of HCG and therefore compensate with a frequency and dose of aromasin in order to keep estrogen in range, but maintain, a good degree of sexual function and prevent significant atrophy of the testicles. I've read the bodybuilder studies, and you guys should read them too. Bodybuilders have significant deterioration in the testicular cells via lots of use of anabolic steroids. In the end, cycling back down to a lower dose of sports TRT or 250, and then ultimately to TRT. Now I'm on 5 pumps of 100 milligram per milliliter cream a day, 330 IU of HCG a day, and an infusion of 40 milligrams of testcipinate every 5 days. I don't have to do anything. All the bloods look great. My lipids look great. Hematocrit's in range, but libido, erection, sensation, all that stuff's intact in a favorable position. And I don't have to take a bunch of additional shit, nor do I really have to manage anything. Do I have the strength, and the energy and the confidence and the fucking stone stoic cold masculinity that I had on cycle? Well, no, not quite, but I feel pretty fucking good. So it's all about trade-offs, right? If you want a mega dose test, understand you're gonna fucking pay the price, and you just have to compensate for all that. The stuff we know is going to go wrong. If you can structure your managing and your strategy of these negative outcomes that are inevitably going to come about if you go on a test cycle or high doses test or mega dosing test, you'll be fine for the cycle you're running, which usually should be between 3 and 4 months, after which you go back down to TRT, and you can run that multiple times over the course of a 1.5 to 2 year period to ultimately put on a good degree of mass. All of us men want mass, get the benefits, and it teaches you a lot. It teaches you a lot about how to manage sexual function, how to manage your body, how to manage these metabolites, how to manage side effects that could come along from mega dosing testosterone. So yes, you can do it. Yes, it can be done. You could do it for TRT if you're totally okay having to pay very particular attention to all the metabolites, and the negative consequences that can come from overloading your body with testosterone levels, DHT, and estradiol levels that they are just not used to having and that are going to cause problems if you don't manage it. In the end, though, short little cycles, manage everything, look at damage control, go back to baseline thereafter, do that cyclically. That's how you megadose test over time. All right, again, as I said in the beginning, guys, right now, everything is 50% off for Black Friday. Black Friday, you save money on loads of stuff, and we're no different. I'm giving stuff away. 50%. The coupon code is BLACK50. I'm going to part with leaving you this video so that you guys can get a grip on what exactly is 50% off. Coaching, mastering testosterone cream, mastering testosterone cypionate. All of the other courses, they're all 50% off right now. Kick ass, rock on. Enjoy the discount. Let's go. Black Friday, baby. Links and codes are down in the description of this video. Peace. Right now for Black Friday, the coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all TRT products. Coaching, one-on-one, sexual dysfunction resolution, fixing libido and erection problems on TRT, or from the use of hair loss drugs, 50% off right now. Coupon code is BLACK50. Enter BLACK50 at checkout and you will save thousands of dollars on any coaching program that you want to book. Source list, a compilation of the most vetted sources for any anabolic you can think of. Everything you need, test of any ester, DHT, high potency gel. Also 50% off for Black Friday. Again, the coupon code for that is BLACK50 and it knocks 50% off of the price of the source list right now. Mastering Testosterone Cream, a revolutionary new course showing you how to dial in libido and erections on test cream, dispelling myths, showing you the protocols that work. 50% off. Coupon code again, BLACK50. Will knock 50% off of the price, reduces the price substantially, and you walk away with a great course for a lot cheaper. Mastering Testosterone Cypionate, a revolutionary course that shows you how to dial in libido and erections with one of the hardest esters in the world. We break it down, protocols included, 50% off. Again, coupon code BLACK50 saves you 50% on all of our major TRT products right now. Go to livecortex.com. Get what you need to optimize sexual function on TRT and save money for Black Friday now.